Been looking at trying to put together a wet dry wet rig without having to take loads and loads of cabs with me. What I've got here is two Marshall 1936 cabs that I've reloaded with vintage 30s, Celestion V30s. Now what I used to use was just one of these cabs, or two of these cabs depending on the space of the venue, with the rack that you can see on my left. Now what we've got in the rack is, ignore this stuff, this is just the lids. I've got the Poweramps, the Samsung Poweramps Pro 10, cold rack tuner, not on at the minute, but I've also got the Sennheiser 500 wireless system. I've then got the TC Gmajor 2, Marshall JPM-1. Then below that I've got the valvestate, Marshall valvestate 8080, which I'm actually using as the wet power amp for the sound. Then the next rack below, I've got the BBE 482i sonic maximizer. I've then got a rack drawer which I'll keep all my wireless and mics and whatever else in, and then the VHT 252 power amp. Now what I'm doing is I'm powering the two centre speakers, this one and this one, for the dry sound, and then the outside two for the wet sound. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a little bit of guitar with just the dry sound. So this is just the dry. Bit of Dream Theater, which I'll also demo once I've got the wet going as well. So that's just the dry sound. Now, we're going to take the bypass off from the TC Electronics. Now what I've got in the sound itself, I'm going to be running a vintage phaser, a compressor, delay and reverb. And that is just coming into the outside cabs. So let me just play some chords. Now let me try doing the Dream Theater thing again. You'll be able to hear, obviously you won't be able to hear the width of it, but you can certainly hear that there's no issues with the speakers or any kind of phasing issues, other than the phaser, which is supposed to be. So there you've got that. Now let me quickly just switch it over to a really nasty drive sound that I've got set up. I'm just going to bypass again the effects unit. Now this is the nasty guitar sound, you know, the real heavy sort of that's the dry sound from the JPM-1 and the VHT and the BBE. The BBE is set flat, so it's very little effect actually being placed on that. And now let me take into the get you the wet sound. I'm just going to find a different sound because I don't want the phaser in there. I'm going to use my lead sound, and I just need to make one small change. Put the unit into parallel as opposed to serial, and then this will give me the wet delays and the reverbs. So you can hear there's the delays. Certainly doesn't seem to be any kind of phasing issues or any problems with the cabs. When you stand in the middle, in front of them, they sound really, quite big and chunky, just as I would expect them to sound without the effects. And when you add the effects in, it just makes it much wider compared to what it was before. Let me change the guitar sound to my normal lead kind of patch. So this is a much more mid-range heavy lead sound which I use. The last one's more of your kind of metal-y sound really, whereas this is more my lead sound. Really rich and almost flute-like. I'll go over to the neck pickup and really get some really nice searing sort of singing lights. Sound. Just to give you a different flavour, this is more of an AC/DC kind of mid-range, mid-gainy sound. Certainly nowhere near as heavy as any of the other ones that we just had. I'm also just going to choose my bog standard patch that I use for this as well. Again, I just need to change the routing, just because this is more of an experiment to see how it's going to work. So this is just a slight crunch. I can back the volume off. Still get a nice sort of cleanish sound. Just with a tiny little bit of reverb on the outside, but you can just about hear. I think, yeah. That's just a tiny little bit of room reverb. So in terms of from an AC/DC point of view, I do quite a lot of the AC/DC stuff in my band, and this is the sound that I tend to use. Needs an SG, really. That tends to be the sound that I use. If I had a little bit of delay into that, I'm just going back into my rig. Just going to change the routing again because, like I say, I haven't saved anything because I don't know if this is going to be my definite setup yet. But if I just add a little bit of delay into that sound, now I've got a nice width again on it. But yes, that tends to be the sounds that I go for. I've also got a really nice harmony part which I use on a couple of songs, which is this one. Let me quickly change that again. Sorry about this, guys. So parallel. So then this is a harmony that I've got set up, which is set to E minor, but bear in mind I'm actually playing on a guitar that's played in flat, so it's E flat minor. But again, it really sort of helps to bring through. And that's really nice because I've got the dry signal right down the middle. So if I just bypass, this is what I've got in the middle. Hello folks, I had to take a quick phone call as it came through. So just briefly talking about the harmonies again. If I bypass the unit, I literally get the dry, unaffected sound coming through to inside speakers. And if I bypass, I then get the harmonies on the outside as well as the delays and the reverb, but again the dry signal down the middle. Which is really, really nice. I also use a couple of different sounds for things like U2 style. I've got a nice sort of U2-ish style sound, if I find. So just change to parallel, and that's the sound I've got in terms of from a delay point of view. Now what I've actually got is that each time it repeats, it splits between the two cabs. So as I'm sat here, it's sort of switching between. So when I play in time with that, which is really, really nice. What I've got to yet work out, because I do have some whammy patches built into the rig. Now I've got to yet work out how I can get those to come through. Haven't quite worked that one out yet, without it being sounding like a harmony as opposed to it being a whammy. What I don't want to have to do is buy a whammy pedal, because although I haven't got it here in front of me, I do have a board with expression pedals on. So what I don't want to do is have to buy a separate whammy pedal just so I can get that sound. Also using different guitars as well. This is obviously the one I've just got here, and I don't know if you can tell, I've got a little signature there from Joe Satriani himself, and he also did me a doodle on the guitar as well, which I was very, very lucky for. So that's the rig. Hopefully you can hear that I don't have any issues with phasing or strange sounds from each cab. It just sounds really big and open. There you go, that's the kind of sounds that I'm getting. It just sounds really nice. So thanks, and hopefully that's given some influence to some other guys who might have to start thinking about putting isolation parts in the cabs and whatever else. That I genuinely can't hear any issues with the cabs. I've tried it up at high volume as well, and it doesn't seem to be any different in terms of its sound quality. If anything, it just sounds better, obviously, because the valves are running a little bit harder. But yeah, that's the rig. Give it a try if you've got access to similar things yourself. Cheers.